Hello, and welcome back to LOGON to CyberSecurity, where we help you stay informed of the latest cybersecurity trends and share strategies to protect organizations from cyber attacks. So today we are joined with Dr. Alexey Raevsky, the CEO and co-founder at Zecurion, which is the leading vendor of their next-generation data loss prevention solutions, to discuss a critical topic that affects businesses of all sizes, which is insider threats. As more companies are moving their operations online, they're increasingly exposed to risk from employees, contractors, and other insiders who can unintentionally or maliciously compromise their data and systems. So, to help us navigate this complex issue, Alexei will be here, who is an expert in cybersecurity and insider threats, to share his professional insights on this matter. Welcome, Alexei.
Thank you. Hi, Lisa. Hi, everybody.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for inviting me today. I would be happy to share my views to this complicated problem.
Yes, thank you for joining us today. So let's start off by having an overview of insider threats. So can you share what are the different types of insider threats that businesses should be aware of?
Actually, there are different insider threats. Actually, we can put them in three large groups. First group is the threat to the data, and more precisely to the personal data of customers, employees, and other guys. Actually, I am talking about compliance issue, which means that most organizations in most countries and most jurisdictions are obliged to protect personal data of their customers. And there are serious penalties and serious sanctions to violate those regulations. Second group is also threat to the data, but the subject is different. So this is not the personal data, but this is proprietary data of the organizations. This could be some intellectual property, some trade secrets, some other information which is not required to be protected by regulatory authorities, but for the company, for the business, it's important and maybe it's vital to protect this data, to keep the market, to keep competitive advantage and other things. And the third group is misbehavior of employees. So it's not concerned or it's not directly concerned to the data risks, but it's concerned to uh, some dangerous activities or suspicious activities of employees which could harm organization. This could be some internal fraud, corruption, misuse of organization's resources, and other things that could lead to financial losses.
Yes, thank you for sharing all those threats. So understanding all these types of threats, how can we create a culture of security within our own organizations to mitigate the risk of insider threats?
Actually, it's, I think, the most complicated side of this problem, as those threats are completely different, and organizations need to understand that if they protect from one or two groups of those threats, it doesn't mean that they protected from all other threats. For example, for many organizations, internal threats mean just compliance. So they tend to protect only from the first group of internal threats. But other other threats could also be very dangerous, and actually organizations, namely top management of the organizations, need to be aware of those threats. And actually, it's up to the top management to create some culture, to create some measures for protecting from those threats.
Yeah, like you mentioned that the management needs to be aware of these kind of threats. And we also do believe that it is important to educate your employees about these threats and build their sense of awareness on this matter as well, so they can learn how to identify these threats in the future with the management. But in terms of access control on our sensitive information, how can we balance the need for access with security? And if you could suggest if there are any best practices for managing privileged access.
Yeah, actually, for many organizations, access control is not actually some important thing. So they typically they perform this access control in mm, very as a very big picture. So they don't deep dive into these problematics, and they don't use some specific tools and methodologies for successful and effective access control. Actually, there are many different software, different methods to protect, to provide effective and secure access control, but very little of organizations use this. But actually, they might don't see any problem in this because they might think that this creates some kind of collaboration spirit or something like this. Everyone has an access to every information and so on. But this is actually the foundation of all other problems. Because if the user has the access to the information which is not necessary for them, actually this could create much more complicated problems, investigation of the data breach or in some other uh, threats. Having a good and secure and reliable access control in the organization is the basics of all other measures of information security.
Thank you, Alexei. One last question before the podcast ends. Could you suggest any solutions that can detect and prevent insider threats? And with your experience, can you share any recommendations of what companies should be using and what features they should be aware of to consider the best solutions for their systems?
Yeah, actually, it's a little bit provocative question because, of course, I would recommend Zecurion software to mitigate, to fight any internal threat. But actually, there are other systems, and actually, you need to understand what's the difference between those systems. I would say that, for example, for DLP software, for data leakage prevention software, there are many systems that are designed and intended to be used just to compliance purposes. So they are good to protect some regulated data, like personal information, financial information, health information of customers. But it's not intended to protect any proprietary data, and moreover, it's not intended to protect. Actually, it's not intended to prevent some misbehavior of employees, or at least detect it. There is the whole new class of solutions called next generation DLP, which actually could provide compliance and protect sensitive data, proprietary data from leaks. But on top of that, it also have some features which help to detect some misbehavior of employees. So it could help to prevent internal fraud, financial manipulations, embezzlement, espionage. It reduces the time and efforts for forensic investigation. And at the end of the day, it helps organizations not to be the part of this sad statistics of data losses and financial losses due to some internal fraud.
Thank you for sharing all those solutions, and definitely yours next generation data loss prevention solutions would be the top choice for most companies for those features and how you help other companies to protect insider threats. So, thank you for all your input for today, Alexei. I'm sure this is a very informative session with you, and everyone has learned a lot from this. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Yes. For those who are listening, we have provided links for this episode on our official website. You can learn more about Zecurion and their next generation DLP solutions through our website, or you can also contact Alexei directly. Thank you for listening today. I will see you all at the next one. Goodbye.
Bye bye.